Thank you. Good afternoon. So I work at the George Eastman Museum. I've been there about 4 years now. For those of you who aren't familiar with our institution, we're one of the earliest museums dedicated to photography and motion picture in the world. We're located in Rochester, New York, and our collection in the Department of Photography consists over 400,000 photographic objects from the earliest days of the medium to the present. Among these objects are over 47,000 stereographs in a variety of formats and media that also span the history of photography. And this is one of my favorite examples. It's Stereo Daguerreotype by Louis-Jules Dubosc from 1855. You can actually see a stereoscope in the bottom right-hand corner there. The popularity of stereoscopy has waxed and waned, but for nearly 90 years, from the early 1850s to the late 1930s, stereographs were an extremely popular and widely circulated form of visual media. They played a critical role in the early history of photography. And they're also an important pre-cinema device. However, given the size and quality of the collection of stereographs at our museum, they've historically played a relatively minimal role in exhibitions. One reason for this is the difficulty and expense associated with exhibiting stereographs so they can be viewed in 3 dimensions, which for most people requires the use of a stereoscope, and our institution has fairly limited means for our size. So there are wonderful examples of museums integrating interactive stereoscopes in their exhibitions. These can serve as inspiration for other institutions considering how best to exhibit their stereographs. However, some of the best examples may be financially beyond the reach of many institutions, including our own. My criteria for building an exhibition stereoscope has been, firstly, accessibility to a quality 3D viewing experience. Secondly, preservation of the original object, which in our case means being able to use sealed packages that will control the humidity inside of the frame and make sure there's no physical contact, as in someone handling the stereographs physically. And thirdly, I wanted to build something that would be affordable for institutions of all sizes. So my initial attempt, which I actually built as a student, I think I was procrastinating on my thesis at the time, achieved my first 2 goals. It allowed an original stereograph to be viewed without risk to the object, while still providing an interactive viewing experience. However, it took several days to build, which at the time didn't matter because it was my own time and pro bono. And it required experience in woodworking and access to woodworking facilities that we actually don't have at our institution. So I was doing this at home. So in this respect, I felt it failed the affordability test for our institution. So the design I currently prefer is a balance between affordability and interactivity without compromising the preservation of the original stereograph. It's based on a Holmes-Bates style stereoscope, which was invented in 1861 and was by far the most popular style of viewer during the 19th and early 20th centuries. And I cheated a little bit and used a kit. Unfortunately, the offer on the left had expired over 100 years ago. So on the left, you can see how the kit was intended to be assembled, and on the right was how we assembled it. I eliminated the front rail, the card holder, and the hinge on the handle. I just attached the handle directly to the lens board and made a small wall bracket to hold the viewer and attached a brass chain to prevent theft. I stained the viewer to match our standard frame profile before attaching the leather hood. The design makes it easy to replace broken parts if needed. Fortunately, we haven't had to do that much. Or to change the color of the wood finish or the hood to match the aesthetics of a particular exhibition or object. With the front rail and the card holder removed, the viewer can simply be held in front of a framed stereograph to experience the 3-dimensional effect. The viewer allows a variety of formats to be exhibited, including daguerreotypes, which you see on the left, glass plates, or mounted cards. It also gives the flexibility of framing multiple cards together, or of adding a light panel into the frame to exhibit stereographs, such as this image from the Diablerie series, which was intended to be viewed with both reflective and transmitted light. We actually showed this around Halloween, so. While there are some drawbacks, I won't go into those. On the whole, it's been a practical and affordable solution for our institution to provide accessibility to stereographs and allow them to be viewed as originally intended. So, thank you.